Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in today. If you're watching the video, please do subscribe and like or comment if there's anything you want me to improve. Starting off today, we are going to start off with LODR Second Amendment Regulation 2021. That is to be effective from 6th May 2021, which has already been there. So these regulations are already effective. To which I would like to start off with the first additional definition, that is from regulation 2 ZN. It talks about working days. Working days is very simple. It talks about shall be as same as working days of the stock exchange where the listed entity securities are listed. This was your first part of the LODR Second Amendment. That's it. Yani ki working days will be considered wheresoever written will be the same working days of a company where the stock exchange where their securities are listed. Okay, moving on to next, says applicability of regulation 3. So applicability of regulation 3, right? So applicability of regulation 3. Then now let's talk about certain regulations based on market capitalization. Okay, so applicability. So it basically talks about applicability of regulations based on market cap. What it says, it shall continue to apply once applicable even if listed entity falls below the threshold subsequently. Right? Now, till what time? So SEBI consider aligning with the timeline of 3 years under regulation 15. Now what is regulation 15? I have attached the video to the description. On to the description there will be other videos will also be attached to which the changes are being made. Few of them which are not available, I will be adding those videos to the description so that you can refer back to it. Right? Now if the listed company, listed entity does not meet requirement for 3 consecutive financial year, should be exempted. Simple. So applicability of certain regulation, the basis of the market cap. Now if the market capitalization, on the basis of the market capitalization, if regulation 15 applies, and due to any expiry reason to the very next year, if it does not apply, which was applied because the threshold limit was met or executed, it shall continue to apply for 3 years. And if by any chance, if it does not apply for 3 next consecutive financial year, then regulation 15 shall not be applicable. Now, if I have to just put it across in a diagrammatic form for you, so let me just tell you this way. So we are talking about, for the first, let's say, first of all, the market cap limit was met. Now, once the applicability of regulation 15 starts, right, it shall be continued for 3 years, right? Now, when does this regulation 15 does not apply? Now, regulation 15 does not apply to the places where, if you look backward for 3 consecutive financial year, the criteria, the threshold mentioned in regulation 15 is not met. Only in that case the regulation 15 shall not apply. तो मान लीजिए first year was yes, regulation 15 के threshold meet कर गए, so it shall be applicable for 3 years. Second year not met, still the regulation 15 has to be complied with. Third year, regulation 15 has to be complied with. When will be a situation when it shall not be complied? It shall not be complied only if 1, 2, 3 years from the financial year, you need to check that the criteria mentioned in regulation 15 basis on the market cap is not being followed by the listed entity. Okay, moving on to the next. So next what we have here is compliance certificate. Just a second. Compliance certificate. Alright, I'm ignoring the animation as of now. Compliance certificate. Alright, this is for regulation 7 and 40. Now, the compliance certificate with respect to the maintenance of share transfer facility. अब रेगुलेशन 7 का जो वीडियो है that is uploaded, 40 का नहीं है, again that will be added later to the description. So this talks about compliance, I'll make it CC. So compliance certificate with respect to maintenance of share transfer facility under regulation 7 sub-regulation 3 and provisions related to transfer and transmission, under regulation 40 sub-regulation 9. that has to be submitted within 30 days from the end of financial year. Now, what used to happen earlier was, instead of year, it was semi-annual. So पहले हर 6 महीने के अंदर जाता था, every semi-annual. Now it's 30 days from the end of the financial year. Moving on to next, what we have here is, that is applicability of corporate governance regulation 15. Applicability of corporate governance regulation 15 that talks about, let me just fix these as well, give me 1 second. Styles, here it is, style. Sorry about this, guys. In this presentation, I'll upload it, that you can check in the descriptions. You can download the presentation as well, in case if you don't want to write it for yourself, you can take out the print. Now, speaking about the applicability of corporate governance provision, now applicability of corporate governance provision shall continue to apply unless paid up capital and net worth falls and remains below threshold limit for 3 years, 3 consecutive years. Right? Now, the overriding effect of specific statute in case of conflict with respect to corporate governance related provisions will stand omitted with effect from 1st September 21. Now I want to put across a major change. Now public sector banks will be required to represent as there exists conflicting provision in terms of board and committee composition under specific right. Now to this, what I want you to understand is, now let me just make it slightly easier for you to understand. So let's just understand this. So earlier what used to happen was, we used to provide a limit for applicability of the regulation 15, which was in regards to the paid up capital and net worth. So paid up capital, if it exceed 10 crore and net worth exceeds 25 crores, in that case regulation 15 shall apply. Now there was no such limit for 3 consecutive years. Now we all understand, if the listed entity has fall within the limit, over and above the limit of 10 crore and 25 crores, in that case they have to follow the regulation 15 and the applicable corporate governance provision as mentioned for 3 consecutive years, irrespective of the criteria given here. Now speaking about the overriding effect of specific statute in case of conflict with corporate governance related provision will stand omitted with effect from 1st of September 2021. Now what it says, ना स्पेसिफिक स्टैट्यूट के केस में जहाँ पे एक अलग से लीगल एंटिटी का लॉ है, वहाँ पे अगर देयर इज ओवरराइडिंग इफेक्ट इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद corporate governance, it shall stand omitted. Now the effect will become the basically just a second, let me make it even better. So the overriding effect of specific statute in case of conflict with respect to corporate governance related procedure, basically this will prevail, will stand omitted with effect from the 1st September 21. Now major change, now what the change is, the public sector bank will be required to represent as there exists conflict provision in terms of board and committee composition under specific statute. अब ये जो पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक है, इनके अपने अपने अलग से जो लीगल एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, वो what all are contradicting with the corporate governance related provision, they are required to go ahead and put it across to SEBI, right? Now this what it is. Moving on to next is what we have here is the another one. It talks about role of audit committee, regulation 18, read with schedule 2C. Okay, now to this what we have here is, just a second, all right. Now the role of audit committee shall include, अब थोड़ा स्कोप वाइड करा है, सो जो स्कोप वाइड करा है वो ये करा है, they need to consider consider and comment on rationale, okay, cost benefit. Just a second. Sorry about this, guys. Just a second. Right. Now, the role of audit committee to include, to consider and comment on rationale, cost benefit, and impact on the listed entity and its shareholders of scheme involving merger, demerger, amalgamation, etc. That has to be aligned the same with the requirement provided under SEBI circular November 3rd, 2020, and not a newly inserted requirement. Right. Now, the role of audit committee to include rationale, cost benefit, the effect of the impact of the listed entity due to any kind of reconstruction, the merger, amalgamation, demerger, anything of that sort. With regards to this, they need to make sure that the same is in alignment with the SEBI circular dated November 3rd, 2020, and not a newly inserted requirement. Now, we'll talk about this circular. Again, the link will be provided in the description once uploaded. So far, what I want you to focus is on this, as well as if you have been through the SEBI circular November 3rd, 2020, well, put it across. Thank you. Moving on to next is what we have here for risk management committee. Now, for the risk management committee, there was not too much of information or detail in-depth bit. So over here we have a lot to talk about. Risk management committee regulation 21. पहले बात करेंगे applicability की. Now, applicable to who all? The first thing first, it is applicable to top 1000 listed entities. Earlier, it was applicable to top 500 listed entities. Now, how will you decide this? Which one are the top listed 1000 or 5000? That is supposed to be on the base of market cap. Right? To the next, speaking about the constitution. Now, the constitution of the risk management earlier was required for the listed entity if they have any outstanding SR equity shares which will be majority of the board members. Instead of writing it board, I'll make it board of director members, and at least 2/3 be independent director. Now this was how it was earlier. The link of this video has been given in the description, please do check. Speaking about now minimum 3 members and still majority of the members of board of director will be continue to be the management committee. In case of banks, यहाँ पे RBI prescribes majority non-executive directors and at least one independent director in case any outstanding I'll just rewrite it. In case of SR equity, 2/3 members independent directors. Right? There's more to it. रिस्क मैनेजमेंट कमेटी पे काफ़ी फोकस करा है इस बारी. Let's take you through. Okay, now a risk management policy shall be constituted. So contents of risk management policy. Now for risk management policy, a framework for identification of internal and external risk, specifically faced by listed entity in particular. Basically all those challenges that may be internal or externally the listed entity must be facing or has faced or the potential to face, including financials, operational, just a second, financial, operational, sectoral, sustainability, particularly ESG related risk, information cyber security risk, and or any other risks as may be determined by the committee. Right. Now, speaking about the measures for risk mitigations, including systems and process for internal control of identify risk, business continuity plan, with this they have to ensure these will be forming the part for the risk management policy. The next we have meetings. Now, meetings twice a year. Earlier it was once a year. Now the gap between two meetings shall not exceed 180 days, where in case of RBI in case of banks, RBI prescribes one meeting in each quarter. Right? Quorum of the meeting. Quorum of the meeting to be 2 members or 1/3 whichever is higher, and at least one member board of director. Now in case of banks, RBI prescribes at least half of the member attending to be independent director, of which at least one member shall have professional expertise or qualification in risk management. Okay. Now, first we had discussed about the applicability. I'll just highlight what all has been discussed. Applicable, constitution, now how it is, and the contents of risk management policy. So risk management policy, this it is. Meetings, quorum, just expand a bit, थोड़ा readable format में आ जाए आपके लिए. Perfect. Now continue with the same risk management committee. There's other bits to be discussed. If you want, you can take the screenshot, but however I have mentioned already. But all of this will be available on the description, so you can totally go ahead and check it. Right. Let's start with the next bit. मैं इसको ही copy paste कर देता हूँ. Right. Okay, now over here we'll talk about power, role and responsibility. Now it talks about functions, as specified under Part D of Schedule 2 that include formulate risk management policy. It shall it shall also include framework for identifying internal and external risk, measures of mitigating risk, business continuity plan, Also ensures process are in place to measure and evaluate risk, oversee implementation of policy, and evaluate adequacy of risk management systems. Right? Periodically review the policy. Once in 2 years. Inform board of director of discussions, recommendations, and actions required appoint removal and terms of remuneration of Chief Risk Officer wherever applicable. Basically, in case of banks, specified BFC, insurance companies, etc. Has power to seek information and seek attendance of outsiders with relevant expertise if necessary to coordinate activities with other committees in case of overlap majorly with audit committee. Right, to this I'd like you to know this: the actionable, the company have to constitute RM committee, which were not constituting earlier. Now the actionable factor is that the companies standing from 501 to the top 501 to 1000 will have to constitute the RMC, the Risk Management Committee, and to ensure the composition is in alignment with the requirement. So earlier, only 500 top 500 listed companies were looking forward to have RMC. Now, apart from this, the terms of reference to be amended with line with the quorum, minimum number of meetings, gap between two meetings of 180 days of RMN powers and responsibility of the committee has to be complied with, plus the risk management policy has to be amended and in line with made. Now, when all this to be applied, so अगर 6th May से applicable हुआ है, they have the time period of 6 months from the date of such regulation become applicable to listed entity. And where it is written in the regulation under regulation provision to regulation 15(2)(a). Now, proviso to this, the 6 month is the basically the timeline where all this is required to be applicable. Now, moving on to next, we have regulation 31, and in 31 that is something amended 31A basically, and additional of their what we have is reclassification of promoter and promoter group entities. So let me just put this way. So here it is. Reclassification of promoter group. Now, speaking about the reclassification of promoter and promoter group entities. Regulation 31. Now, this is going to be a lengthy one, so first of all I want you to hear me out. Now, there is a reduction in time gap. So let me just put this way. Now, time gap between board meeting and shareholders meeting for consideration of reclassification request should be 1 month minimum up to 3 months maximum. Okay. Now, previously the time gap was 3 months but not exceeding 6 months. So इसको मैं रेड से लिख देता हूँ. Earlier three months minimum but not exceeding 6 months. Okay. Speaking about the exemptions. Now, exemptions from board of director and shareholder will be exempted. So exemptions from board of directors and shareholders. where promoters or promoter, I'm writing PG here, promoter group, right, or person related to promoter seeking reclassification together do not hold more than 1% of voting rights. And the second exemption is reclassification is pursuant to a divorce. Right? So two situations, exemption from board of directors and shareholders जहाँ पे एक person से ज़्यादा voting rights वगैरह hold नहीं करे होते हो. The reclassification, the seeking of reclassification, promoter and promoter together seeking reclassification do not hold more than 1% of the voting right. Now, another point is, if the reclassification is pursuant to an order of a regulator under any law. Now, subject to the condition that the promoter seeking reclassification do not remain in control of the listed entity. Subject to the condition that promoters seeking reclassification do not remain in control of listed entity. In that case, there are few conditions that has to be complied. And what are these conditions? Is condition are in regulation 31A. Proviso 3 is approval of board of director and shareholders, and conditions to be fulfilled by promoters and the listed entity before reclassification. Right? Moving on to next is the another point that talks about the regulation 31A. Under the same, there's their continuity, that is fourth. their condition to be fulfilled by promoters after reclassification. Okay, another regulation under the same head, 31A. Disclosure to be made to stock exchange, right? Now just get into the deep of each and everything. In case of reclassification pursuant to an open offer or a scheme of arrangement, exemption from the following provision has been extended. I would like to add here, in case of reclassification pursuant to an open offer or a scheme of arrangement, exemptions from the following provision have been extended. From what all provision? The one that I have mentioned here. Right? No. Now, the subject to the condition, the intent of the erstwhile promoters to reclassify has been disclosed in letter of offer or scheme of arrangement. Prior, subject to the condition that the intent of the promoters to reclassify has been disclosed in letter of offer or scheme of arrangement. ठीक है, promoter ने अपना intention पहले ही बता दिया था that he will go ahead and reclassify. In that case, ये इसमें regulation 31A approval of board of directors and shareholders. Regulation 31A sub-regulation 3C. compliance by the listed entity. Compliance by the listed entity to the requirement for minimum public shareholding under Regulation 38. To the regulations that all are being referred, all the videos will be added to the description, and which are already made are already in the description. So in case you want to refer back to anything, you can totally do that. So just like minimum public shareholding, Regulation 38 has been mentioned only in case of open offer. Then Regulation 31A, 8 subregulation A and disclosure to stock exchange. Now in सब इतनी सारी चीज़ें करने का rationale क्या है? I mean, the intent of the reclassification has already been mentioned in the letter of open offer या scheme of arrangement. The requirement of the promoter making an application merely procedural, since the fact of reclassification is already presented in the public domain, so they don't have to go through all that hassle, right? So the promoter, while providing the letter of offer to the public, mentioning in the document that I want to go ahead and reclassify something in future. Now, what all the exemptions it can be concerned, can be availed. The first one is the approval of board of director and shareholder is not required. The compliance with the listing requirement is only in case of open offer. In the case of disclosure to be made to stock exchange, वो सारी चीज़ें वो पहले ही बता चुका है. The reason is they're being exempted, right? The all drill down to a factor where he has mentioned his intent of reclassifying such in the letter of offer or on the scheme of arrangement. Taking to the next bit here, and let me just make it in a readable format. So exemptions बहुत ध्यान से देखिएगा आप. ये presentation तो मैं I'll just upload it, don't worry. The description में होगा. In fact, this I'll rather upload it on Telegram because that will be better. It will be shared with everyone. Now, let me just check this. Just a second. And if you haven't joined the group, you can totally go ahead and join it. Group का जो link है वो description में दे रखा है. And something I can improve, I'll be more than happy, because by the end of the day I'm making the video, but I need honest opinions around it to make sure that I am able to deliver what you're looking for. Now the next to the second amendment is disposing shares of material subsidiary, that is Regulation 24, Regulation 5. Very simple, very basic, not much, छोटे हैं unlike the others. So for material subsidiary, now what it says So the shares shall not disposed resulting in shareholding to fail below 50% unless SR is passed. So, in case of disposal of shares in a material subsidiary without passing an SR, if the shareholding falls below 50%, that will be a non-compliance. Earlier, it stated as less than 50%. So जहाँ पे आज की डेट में what we are saying is shares shall not be disposed resulting fall to anything below 50% unless a special resolution is passed. The earlier it was anything less than 50%. If there was anything less than 50% is to be disposed, SR is required to be passed irrespective of the start. Now, to which that brings me to the another one, that is secretarial audit. Everyone for being a company secretary here. So here it is, secretarial audit. Now, for secretarial audit, it's regulation 24 amendment. It says annual secretarial compliance report. Okay, so annual secretarial compliance report is to be submitted within 60 days from end of financial year in the format prescribed. That also needs to be aligning the regulation with requirement as prescribed under SEBI circular dated Feb 8, 2019. Right. Next, it talks about meeting of independent directors. 25 ID shall meet once in every financial year. Earlier it was once every year. Now it is specified. Aligns the provision with the requirement of meeting ID as given under clause provision of Schedule 4 to Companies Act 2030. Right. The additional provision has to be followed for the meeting of the independent director in the regulation 25. Let me just make this align as well. Perfect. All right. So the next we have statement on impact of audit qualification. Regulation 33, subregulation 6. So earlier, the statement was required to be reviewed by stock exchange. Now omit. Do this just a second. Next is business responsibility report, regulation 34 sub 2. So regulation 34 sub 2 F. Now has to be followed by top 1000 listed entity on the basis of market cap at the end of the financial year to submit business responsibility report. That was how it looked like. Now this requirement has been discontinued from financial year but from financial year that is for the annual report pertaining to financial year the entitled shall submit business responsibility and sustainability report to which same can be submitted by entities on voluntary basis for fine. Right, and this is top 1000. Okay. So this requirement is continue. 22-23 से बोल दिया गया है for the annual report by relating to financial year 22-23, right? Entities shall submit. Now when we talk about entities shall submit the business responsibility and sustainability report, कोई हजार का criteria खत्म, right? Moving further. Okay, perfect. Now, documents and information to shareholders. The regulation 36. Shareholding as a beneficial owner to be provided by person proposed to be appointed as non-executive director as a non-executive to shareholders in case of appointment or reappointment. Okay. So any person who is appointed as a non-executive director shall submit their shareholding as a beneficial owner to the shareholders where they are being appointed or reappointed as a director, as a non-executive director. Right? However, the same is not newly inserted. This was earlier in regulation 26, which was provided for the same has been omitted and inserted under this regulation. So this was already existing, but now it has been shifted to the earlier regulation 26 where it has been removed from there and it has been inserted to this regulation. Okay. Then I have to copy and paste. Just a second. Please be with me. परेशान नहीं है, ज़्यादा है नहीं. You can already check that how long it will more be for. So starting off with, we have scheme of arrangement, that is regulation 37. अब scheme of arrangement में पहले क्या होता था? They required basically the listed entity are required to obtain OL from stock exchange is done away with, which was required earlier, that is observation data. Now, speaking SEBI circular dated November 3rd, 2020 on scheme of arrangement has empowered stock exchange to issue NOC letter only to such scheme that are in compliance with security laws. Very simple, very basic. The earlier practice of issuing observation letter to schemes non-compliance with security laws has been dispensed with. So पहले follow हो रहा नहीं हो रहा कहीं थोड़ा बहुत आगे पीछे 19-20. Now you have to make sure, in case if you need a NOC from the stock exchange, you need to make sure you are in compliance with the security law and all the provision are being complied with. Something new, not new exactly, but yeah, new. As it's the second amendment. It is the dividend distribution policy. That is a fresh one, and regulation 43A. Simple. It was applicable top 1000 listed entity on the basis of the market cap. Again, earlier top 500 listed entity. That is the change. Now what has happened? So earlier the requirement to provide policy for dividend distribution in annual report omitted. Now, policy to be placed on website and web link to be provided in annual report. Simple and basic. To the next we have is stock exchange approval for name change. Regulation 45 sub-regulation 3. Approval from stock exchange omitted. What you need to do is certificate of compliance with regulation 45 to be attached with explanatory statement. Sorry, just a second. Of the notice seeking approval from the shareholders. This is what you are required to submit. That's it. Okay. For the same. Okay. Now website, need port space here. Of the website, what we have is additional disclosure shall be made on website of the company. Now that is schedule of analyst, institutional investors meet and presentation to be placed on company website. इसके बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में बात करेंगे, don't worry about it. Financials of foreign subsidy. We complied even if prepared as per law of the country of incorporation, aligns the requirement under this regulation with provision of Companies Act 2013, to which you need to also place compilation of disclosures under various other regulations undertaken, possibly be Secretarial compliance report. So with this, then the policy for determination of materiality of events information, details of KMP authorized to determine materiality of events. Okay, disclosures required under statement of deviations or variation. You can take it variation or variations, anything and everything. So all is to be placed in the website. Dividend distribution policy, annual return provided under Section 92 of Companies Act 2013. Now, this brings the above disclosure under ambit of penalties as given under SEBI circular dated Jan 2, 2020. Right? Now, in absence of such inclusion, penalties on non-compliance with same couldn't be levied. Right? Right? Under the ambit of penalty, this is a circular that we need to go through in case you want to know the in-depth or detail around it. To the next, where I have promised that we will discuss about the schedule of analyst and institutional investor meet presentation. So let's see what we have here. Okay. Alright, let's do this. Please be with me. 1 second. Sorry about that. Now here we talk about now out here the word meet has been defined as, okay, the meet has been defined as group meeting or conference calls conducted or through digital means, right? The question arises, what about one-on-one meets? Consultation paper provides for listed companies to provide number of such meeting as part of corporate governance report submitted by them to stock exchange, okay, on every quarter, along with affirmation that no unsensitive protected price information was shared by any official of the company in such meeting. छोटा छोटा insider trading नहीं है. You need to record of such one-on-one meeting and preserve it for period of 8 years. However, the said requirement has been excluded in final amendment. इसका rationale नहीं बताया in SEBI's board meeting में, so I do not have exactly why did they do so. There are some additional compliance requirement prescribed. The following disclosures shall be made to the stock exchange and simultaneously be placed on website. To be made to stock exchange and placed on website of company. Also, the schedule of analyst institutional investor and the meet presentation has to be on the website of the company, right? Along with this, presentation and audio video recording before the next trading day or within 24 hours from the conclusion of the call. इनमें से भी जो पहले event होगा, that has to be included. So it says whichever is ये चीज़, ये पूरी meeting has to be uploaded. To be hosted on website, the entire meet and the presentation for 5 years, and thereafter as per archival policy. Then transcripts within 5 working days from the conclusion of the call to be hosted on the website as per the preservation policy of the company as per regulation 9. Now, for this particular year, it is voluntary for the year April 1st, 2021, but mandatory from the next year, April 1st, 2022. Okay, so this it looks like. Okay, so I know it's quite lengthy, but the amendments are there, so I want everyone to make sure that we do not miss out on anything. Few more are remaining, so please be with me. Then we have is change in name. So the chartered accountant certificate was required. Change in name for regulation 45. Sorry. Chartered accountant to be obtained under regulation right. It is required to be obtained for the chartered accountant certificate for change of name is required, and that has to be attached to explanatory statement of the notice seeking approval of shareholders. Now additional, ये तो पहले भी कर लिया, approval of stock exchange is done away with. So this is done away with, and the rest has to be obtained and complied with. Speaking about newspaper advertisement, regulation 47. So newspaper advertisement. Now there is a non-applicability, that is notice of board meeting, where financial results discussed quarterly statement of deviation or variation so basically it reduces additional burden of sending separate advertisement, right? To the next we have is intimation of outcome of board meeting, regulation 36 and schedule 3 part A. In case where board meeting in which financial results are considered continue for more than 1 day, intimation is required, and financial results must be disclosed to stock exchange within 30 minutes of the end of the meeting for the day on which same has been considered. ये मीटिंग खत्म होने के बाद 30 मिनट के अंदर have to update the stock exchange. Okay. Now to this, the other one is let's check. Just a second, guys. Okay. What we are looking at is disclosure with respect to resolution plan or restructuring schedule 3 part A. It says the word corporate debt restructuring now being substituted with resolution plan, restructuring in relation to loans borrowing from banks, financial institution, the following disclosures are to be made. Decision to initiate resolution of loans and borrowings, signing of inter-creditors agreement by lenders, finalization of resolution plan, implementation of resolution plan, salient features of the resolution, restructuring, plan that need not to include commercial secrets. Right, the next we have is corporate governance report regards to the schedule 5 para C. Disclosure with respect the risk management committee are to be made in the corporate governance report to be annexed to annual report with brief terms of reference, composition, name of members and chairperson, meetings and attendance during the year, and at last few more things that we need to know of, and then we are done. So that is in regards to board meeting for declaration of bonus securities. That requires a prior intimation of board meeting for considering the proposal of declaration of bonus. That is regulation 29. Oh, sorry. Regulation 29. To stock exchange. Irrespective of whether the same is a part of the agenda papers of board meeting. Board meeting agenda mention, but if you're trying to consider it, you're required to give the intimation or declaration to the stock exchange. Now, there are a few things I want to go ahead and provide it to you, as in the few timelines here. You can note that down, it's good to bit information. So, quarterly corporate governance compliance report. Corporate governance compliance report under regulation 27. So 21 days from the definitely from the end of each quarter. Okay. The next says report from monitoring agency to be submitted to stock exchange under 32 under 32(6) and within 45 days. Disclosure of voting results to be disclosure of voting result within 2 working days from conclusion of general meeting. Right now, regulation 30, read with para A of Part A of Schedule 3 that says submission of proceedings of the EGM within 24 hours from the conclusion. Voting results are the crux of general meeting. So basically, admin provides no change. This is majority of everything, and before I conclude, few points that I want to go ahead and share. That says some of the miscellaneous provisions in regards to regulation aligned with SEBI ICDR regulation has to be complied with. Innovators growth platform substitute institutional trading platform. The interchangeability in vision mechanism and whistleblower policy. The harmonization of SEBI LODR regulation 2015 is within compliance with the aligned with Companies Act 2013. The retiration of gender neutrality by adding her along with his has been taken care of. Also, there are few actionables for a person who is currently interning or is in a company and looking in this video. The risk management committee and regulation thereof is something that need to comply with for the top 1,000 listed entity, and to ensure the RMC is constituted, and update the risk management policy, the terms of reference, and RMCs to be formulated in line with Schedule 2 Part D. Ensure the RMC meet twice a year with gaps between two meetings not exceeding 180 days, and no specific timeline has been prescribed in the amendments to ensure such compliance. However, what I feel is it has to be compliant within 6 months from such regulation become applicable. About the body corporate to take adequate step to ensure the compliance with the corporate governance regulation by 1st September 2021, and the top 1,000 listed entity to ensure the business responsibility and sustainability report is to be filed with the financial year 2022 to 2023, and then they may provide the same for the current financial year. The top 1,000 listed entity to ensure they have a dividend distribution policy uploaded on their website, and the web link to be on annual report, and the website to be updated with the annual with the additional disclosure required under the regulation 46 for you all. So yeah, that is everything that you needed to know under the SEBI amendment for the LODR regulation. Hope you liked the video. I believe it was quite lengthy and descriptive for you to understand. Please like, comment and subscribe to let me know what all I can improve, and do join our Telegram group to have regular updates on the video, and stay tuned. Thank you so much. For the videos, I'll just like to mention, for the videos for the LODR regulation which are not uploaded on my channel, I'll add this to the description of the videos that are already in the channel. You can always go ahead and find they've been recent updated for the regulation. So I thought this might be important for a few people who are looking forward to have the understanding around it. So hence this has been uploaded. Thank you for your time, and yourself have a good one. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.